Hey, church family and friends, it's great to be able to connect with you right here on Facebook and on YouTube as we continue studying the Word of God together. Today, we move forward in our study through the book of Isaiah. So let's go ahead and dig right into today's thought. We're in Isaiah chapter 3, and we're looking at verses 1, 2, and 3. The Word of God says this: For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent, the ancient, the captain of 50 and the honorable men, and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. Throughout the book, Isaiah has been painting a clear picture that the southern kingdom of Judah was heading in the wrong direction. In chapter 2, he began to contribute their current trajectory to the pride of the people. In an earlier thought, I said that Isaiah was going to highlight three areas that their pride was clearly evident in: that of self-reliance, that of defiance or rebellion, and that of arrogance or vanity. Now, so far, we've considered the first, and we'll consider the second in our next thought. But before Isaiah explains the second, he pauses and describes how God deals with the first. And to some degree, it's the dealing with the first that leads to the second. Now, hopefully, all of that will make sense as we continue forward in the study. But for now, let's consider how God deals with a nation that turns their back on Him. And please make no mistake, that is exactly what self-reliance is. Verse 1 makes it very clear that God deals with the pride of self-reliance by simply removing the very things that we have come to rely on. Listen to it again. For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away. Now, the phrase take away here means to turn off, to cause to decline, to depart, or to become sour. In essence, the very foundation of their society was going to be uprooted. We talk about a nation in decline. A nation that turns their back on God will become just that. And we need to pay attention here to what's happening, because I believe that we in America are seeing some of these exact same elements in our own country. Notice one: God deals with a nation given to pride by impacting their national economy. He says this: For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread, and the whole stay of water. The words stay and staff are words that represent that which an individual, or in this case, a nation, rely upon for their support and for their sustenance. The two things that Isaiah highlights is that of bread and water. It is no doubt a reference to a nation's economy that has been impacted by both famine and by drought. In Isaiah's day, these were the two natural elements that sent the entire economy into a tailspin, and God made it very clear to the nation of Israel that it was one of the ways that He would bring His judgment on His people. Now, to compare this to our day, are we not experiencing a time of economic instability? Now, take a look at the stock market, the job market, and the supermarket. You'll quickly find out that our economy right now is on an economic and emotional roller coaster unlike anything you and I have ever seen. Notice, secondly, God deals with a nation given to pride by impacting their national sovereignty. He says, For behold, the Lord of hosts will take away the mighty man and the man of war. Now, there is no doubt and emphasis here on the military might of a nation and its ability, or perhaps I should say its inability, to defend its border. Another promise that God had given His people was that if the famine wasn't enough to get their attention, then He would use an outside force, an enemy, to come in and to get their attention. The idea here is that when that outside force would come, and they would, the nation would not have any mighty men to go to war and to defend the nation. Now, thankfully, we're seeing a little bit of a stronger military force today, but in reality, we're struggling in society for men. Men today have been feminized. We're lacking in mighty men with the ability or the desire to stand up for what is right and defend our nation. Thirdly, God deals with a nation given to pride by impacting their judicial system. He says, "For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away," in verse number 2, "the judge." The word judge here is a reference to one who gives a proper sentence, one who punishes evil and one who rewards good. In a nation that is given to pride, it is hard to find an individual who will stand up for what's right in a world that is constantly trying to justify everything that is wrong. The very system that was established to carry out justice turns a blind eye to injustice. In other words, criminals get by with things. Oh, friend, are we not seeing that in our day? We have judges today in our nation that cave to pressure, that cave to special interest groups, and that cave to some whim of the political figure, rather than doing the right thing, the best thing for the country. Criminals that should be arrested aren't being, and many of those that have been arrested are being released back into our society to cause further trouble and further harm. Notice fourthly, God deals with a nation given to pride by impacting their spiritual advisors. "For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away," and then in verse number 2, "the prophet." See, during Isaiah's time, God spoke to his people through his messenger, the prophet. The reality is that God sent his messengers to his people with a message, but they had refused to listen. They would listen to those who would say what they wanted to hear, right? They sought for individuals who would tell them that they were okay, that things were going to get better, that they were going in a right direction. Oh, friend, can you see any correlation to today? We may not have prophets today like they had in the Old Testament scriptures, but let me ask you a question. Where are the preachers today who will, yes, compassionately, but yet courageously stand up and speak the truth in love? Notice fifthly, God deals with a nation given to pride by impacting their skilled professionals. He says, "For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away." In verse number 2, he identifies a few: the prudent and the ancient, the captain of 50, and the honorable man, and the counselor, and the cunning artificer, and the eloquent orator. These were professional, skilled professionals of the day, and yet they couldn't find him. The idea here is that the individuals that are skilled in various elements of society were no longer available. They could not be found. And friend, are we not experiencing that same thing in our day as well? People today, they don't want to work. And not only do they just not want to work, but a big majority of our society, they don't know how to work. What I'm trying to say is this: the pride of self-reliance, turning our backs on God, destroys the very pillars that are necessary for the stability and the strength of a nation. And friend, the only way to turn the tide of national decline is for the nation to turn back to God. And friend, that is desperately what we need in our country today. I want to say thank you for joining with me today. Let me encourage you to hit the share button. I would greatly appreciate that. And then make plans to join us tomorrow for our next edition of Making the Connection. But until next time, good day and God bless.